Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. Listen, guys, we in the week 9. I just want y'all to know today it's just us. Every once in a while, I told you, every once in a while it's good for us to just do our own thing. I love the guests. I love all of them. Trust me. Sometimes we need a break from them too. You see what I'm saying? But another crazy week in the books. We're gonna jump right into it. See what's going on with this. All right. So, all right. So in week 9 games, we're gonna start off. We're gonna start off with the Cowboys versus the Falcons. All right. So of course, the Falcons served the Cowboys their second straight loss since coming off a bye, which is crazy. In terms of stats, Dak was 18 and 24 for 133 yards, one touchdown, no picks. And then Dak actually is now on the IR because he has a hamstring injury. So Cooper Rush finished the game. He was 13 of 25 for 115 yards and a touchdown. And not much on the ground, but Rico Dowdle, he had 12 carries for 75 yards. No touchdowns on the ground. Um, Jake Ferguson, he led them in receiving, 7 receptions for 71 yards. Rico Dowdle actually had a receiving touchdown, and so did Jalen Tolbert. And the Falcons, Kirk Cousins was 19-24 for 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Bijan Robinson was 19 carries for 86 yards, but Tyler Algier actually had the rushing touchdown for them. They were led in receiving by Darnell Mooney, and he had 5 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. And then Ray McLeod, he actually had a receiving touchdown as well, and so did Drake London. Okay. As I told y'all last week, uh the Cowboys are done. Like the season, it's over. The season is over. Um I just want to make sure that everything that I'm saying, I was just checking the stats again. But the season is over for them. Like this is it's over. As I predicted at the beginning of the season, there's not going to be any playoffs for the Cowboys. Um, and this is just what it is. Now Dak is on the IR. They need to blow this thing up. They need to blow this thing up and be done with it. Okay. Um, I don't even really like the Cowboys may not come up on this show for the rest of the year. That's how I'm feeling about the Cowboys right now. Um, the Cowboys may not come up on the show anymore. In terms of the Falcons actually have a pretty decent lead in the NFC South. They have a 2-game lead on the Bucks, so they're looking good. Kirk Cousins is looking good. Kirk Cousins is looking like the best quarterback in that division. Um, yeah, this is like so it's a pretty rudimentary game at this point. But I'm very interested to see how far the Falcons are able to take this thing because they have a reputation. Kirk Cousins has a reputation, which is they kind of shrink at different times. So let's see how far they can take that whole thing. So I'll hold my judgment on the Falcons, but the Cowboys, they out of here, bro. They're done. All right. So then we had the Broncos versus the Ravens. Let's look at some stats. Excuse me. Bo Nix, he was 19-33 for 223 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. And then Cortland Sutton actually had one pass for 2 yards, and that was to Bo Nix, and it was his first receiving touchdown. Nothing really on the ground. We're not even going to go there. Cortland Sutton was 7 receptions for 122 yards. And of course, I told you Bo Nix had the receiving touchdown. And then the Ravens. Lamar, he was 16 and 19 for 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Derrick Henry was 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, he was 5 receptions for 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. um, Oh, and by the way, the Ravens actually won 41-10 against the Broncos. So the Broncos are, I think they're definitely a team coming. Pause. Pause. They're definitely a team on the rise. They're on the rise in the NFL, and and I think there's a lot that's going to be great to see from them. Right now, I just don't think it's not their time right now, you know. But that's fine. But the Ravens, like for me, this was the best game that I've maybe seen the Ravens play. And this might be the second time that I've said that. This is a Lamar Jackson kind of game. 16 and 19, 280 yards, three touchdowns, no picks. Like this is like Lamar Jackson is not a throw for 30 times type quarterback. If he's thrown for 20 times or less, and it's like efficient like this, you should be worried. You should be worried. And then Derrick Henry is adding exactly what I've been saying the last couple weeks as he's been adding. Um, the Baltimore Ravens are a legitimate threat. They're a legitimate threat. They're an AFC threat, and they're a team that can come out of the AFC definitely. I really want to see what goes on with them the rest of the season. They've made some additions to the corners. The one thing that I still don't like about them is their pass rush, but we'll see how far that can go. Um, let's go. Let's go to the next game. The next game was the Bears versus the Cardinals. Now, I thought this was actually going to be a pretty good game, but the Cardinals put it on the Bears, 29-9. Um, Caleb Williams was 22 of 41 for 217 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Not much on the ground, but DeAndre Swift, he led them with 51 yards rushing. And Rome Odunze, he had five receptions for 104 yards. There was no receiving touchdowns. Kyler, he was 13 and 20 for 154 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. James Conner, he has 18 carries for 107 yards, no touchdowns. But Imari Demercado, he had a rushing touchdown, and so did Trey Benson, and so did Trey McBride. All of them had rushing touchdowns. Check them out. And receiving, it honestly wasn't much receiving. So listen, y'all, Cardinals are the real deal. Like the Cardinals, like I'm really like later on we're going to talk about the playoff predictions. I'm having a hard time thinking of a reason to keep them out of the playoffs. They, they're beating the teams that you think that they should lose to. I mean, they're 5-4. They're tied for. They're actually in first place, but with four losses, all of those. There's three teams with four losses in the NFC West. They're one of those teams. This is really exciting, man, and the Cardinals are a very exciting team. This doesn't really change too much for the Bears for me. Um, However, now looking at the Cardinals having beaten them, if there's any tiebreakers come to the end of the season, the Cardinals are going to have that over them. The Cardinals got some tiebreakers over some teams, which is an interesting thing to have come playoff time. But yeah, they're definitely two good teams, and I'm very excited for both of them. All right, Lions Packers. All right, the Lions went into Lambeau and won 24-14. Player stats: Jordan Love was 23 of 39 for 273 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Josh Jacobs 13 carries for 95 yards, no touchdowns. But Emmanuel Wilson had a rushing touchdown. Uh, Jaden Reed, he had five receptions for 113 yards, and not much more going on there. Jared Goff, 18 for 22 for 145 yards, one touchdown, no picks. David Montgomery, he had 17 carries for 73 yards. And Jameer Gibbs had 11 carries for 65 yards and the touchdown. And Amon St. Brown led them with receiving with 56 yards receiving and a touchdown. This game was actually it was raining. I think it was pretty windy as well. So this really shows the growth of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are not the team that we grew up with that would find ways to lose. They're finding ways to win. And I loved what Dan Campbell had to say after the game. He said we'll play in anything. We'll play anybody anywhere. Doesn't matter. Just he even said even though we play in a dome, it doesn't matter. We'll play in the elements and we'll beat you in your elements. And I loved that approach. I loved that he said that. Um, this is really a team win for the Detroit Lions and really establishing themselves as a true contender in the NFC. Losing Aiden Hutchinson, I was really worried about them, but now, I mean, I'm still worried about their pass rush. They're playing a different style of defense right now. They definitely made some acquisitions for defensive end in the trade deadline, but how they're playing defense, it's more depicted on the fact that they can be versatile and they can play a couple different ways of defense. So they can blitz you sometimes, they can rush with four, and they can really keep you off balance. So in the long run, I still have a question because of the Aiden Hutchinson injury, but for right now, yeah, man, they look scary, baby. They look scary. Um, yeah, man, they look scary. And then finally, we are going to talk about the Rams going into where is this? Okay, going into Seattle and winning in overtime, 26-20. Uh, yeah, in a very exciting game. So in this game, the Seahawks went up big and the Rams came back, and it was very. And then it started going back and forth, and then I was this was a very good game to watch. So Geno Smith was 21 to 34 for 363 yards, three touchdowns, and three picks. Kenneth Walker was 25 carries for 83 yards, no rushing touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigba, in his breakout game for me, was seven receptions for 180 yards and two touchdowns. Tyler Lockett had three receptions for 63 yards and one touchdown. But yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba, to me, this was his best game as a pro. Matt Stafford, he was 25 of 44, 298 yards, two touchdowns, and one pick. Kyron Williams had 69 yards rushing, no rushing touchdowns. Cooper Kupp had 11 receptions for 104 yards, no touchdowns. Um, Demarcus Robinson, he had six receptions for 94 yards and two touchdowns. And Puka Nacua, he actually got ejected for throwing a punch. So that was that. Um, Listen, the Rams are the scary team that I've been talking about. They have once again, if you take away the Chiefs, they to me have been the most impressive team over the last 4 or 5 years. Getting a Super Bowl and mortgaging the whole future, and then that rebound they've made the playoffs every year for a rebound. When teams mortgage their future, it usually takes them 5 6 years to bounce back. They've been in the playoffs, and now I expect them to be back in the playoffs. Now, I think they're rolling. They got their pieces that were hurt back. They're a team that you may not want to play. And Matthew Stafford, I appreciate watching him play. Jamal, a couple weeks ago, put him in his MVP race, which I totally do understand and I thought was a very underrated pick. I think this is not a team that you want to play. And Matthew Stafford, I think these last 3 years to me has strengthened his Hall of Fame trajectory more than anything he did in Detroit as a whole. This is amazing. This is nothing but a pleasure to watch. Shout out the Rams. Okay. Well, that was week 9 in the books. So let's talk about the week 10 games because, of course, we're going to reveal our final playoff predictions. Okay? So let's go in there. Let's make sure everything good here. Okay. So Bengals versus Ravens. So this game is at M&T Bank Stadium, which is of course in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they played already this year. Let me just check that. Give me a second. Yes, and the Ravens won in overtime. Um, I'm calling for a Ravens sweep. I think the Ravens are just better than them in the trenches, and I think this is the end for the Bengals for me. This is probably the end. I had high hopes for them. I hoped that they would. I thought that they might be able to bounce back. They haven't really been able to do that. Um, but yeah, this is a game that I'm thinking the Ravens continue to show their dominance. They lost to I forget who they lost to. They lost to the Browns, and I think in their division now they're looking at their division and saying, "All right, now we got to take care of it." I think that they got embarrassed there. Now I think they're going to handle business. You know, so I definitely feel as though this is it for them. So I'm taking the Ravens in that game. So then I got 49ers Bucks. And I'm going with the 49ers on this one as well. And I really am looking at the Bucks now taking a step back. I think Baker Mayfield has made a has done a great season. This is the best season that I've seen from him. This is the most impressed that I've been with Baker Mayfield as an NFL quarterback. But I think they've kind of reached their ceiling. Um, their wide receivers are hurt. Um, Yeah, and I think the 49ers got to do something to bounce back. But they're not out of the woodwork for me. I mean, I still think they got a lot of problems, and that problem is you still got Brock Purdy, who you're gonna have to pay in the future, and he's got to put on display that he's able to weather these kinds of storms. So we'll see what happens next. So then we got Broncos Chiefs. The big breath is not because I don't know. I don't. It's not like I don't understand how good the Chiefs are and how bad not how bad, but like where the Broncos are. I don't think that the Broncos are uh better than the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs gotta lose to somebody, and I think it's gonna be somebody in their division. And I think nah, this is an Arrowhead Stadium. I was close. But I'm gonna stick with the Chiefs on this one. Um, but these division games, man, like everybody sleeps on these division games. They're not easy to pick. You know what I mean? They're not easy to pick. But I think the Chiefs are going to do this and keep it rolling, get to 9-0 and keep the ship going. The next game is Steelers. The Steelers are going to be in Maryland to play the Washington Commanders, and which I think could be the game of the week. This could be the game of the week for me, and I'm very excited to watch this game. The Commanders, man, first of all, shout out to Mike. We was on the Commanders and putting people on Commanders back in the summer. We was like the first ones to like tell everybody the Commanders are a real deal, and there is somebody interesting that you need to keep an eye on. And I'm actually picking the Commanders in this one too. Why not? You know, what I mean, look how they've been playing. They've been playing amazing. I think if they can keep this game close, I think if they can keep the big plays down, then I think in that scenario, going up against a roster like the Steelers, I don't see the matchups going down the field that they're supposed to have to exploit the weaknesses in the Commanders. They just got Marshawn Lattimore because they need to solidify that secondary, and he just got there. So if they can keep the the big plays at a minimum, yeah, I do think they could figure this out. They know how they want to play. You know what I mean? I do think the Commanders have a certain ceiling to them, but I think they know how what they want to do and how they want to play it, and I think that's amazing. So we'll keep that there. And then we're gonna go Texans versus Lions, which, in all fairness, probably is the game of the week. The Texans versus the Lions, and this game is in Texas. I don't have any information to say the Lions won't win this game. The Texans still are down two wide receivers. Um, CJ Stroud, he's figuring it out, but this is a little bit. I'm not saying it's a sophomore slump, but he's figuring this out. And this is the first time he's going through like some real controversy because the rest of his team, I mean, he has to pick up these pieces and stuff like that. And I think he's doing a great job, a phenomenal job. He was in my top five. He was in my top five MVP rankings a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I just think how the Lions look right now, how they're playing, they just look like defensively a team that knows how to exploit you, and the Texans right now have some obvious exploitations. So I'm gonna roll with the Lions in that. So just to be clear, in week 10 games, I got the Ravens, I got the 49ers, I got the Chiefs, I got the Commanders, and I got the Lions. I bet you I'm going undefeated. I bet you I'm rolling the table with that. All right. All right. So now we just talked about week 9, week 10, gave our predictions. Now I'm gonna give you guys the my final playoff predictions, and I'm gonna put in the AFC and NFC championship game. All right, you all heard it here first. You heard it here first. Okay, I'm giving you my I'm giving you the playoff predictions. My final one. I'm not gonna say this again. My final playoff predictions and the AFC and NFC championship game and your Super Bowl winner. I'm saying it right now. So I'm gonna roll through this kind of quick. All right. In I'm gonna start with the AFC because the NFC is a little crazy. I'm gonna be honest with you at the bottom of it. So coming out of the AFC East, I have Buffalo. Coming out of the AFC West, I have the Chiefs. Coming out of the AFC North, I have the Ravens. Coming out of the AFC South, I have the Texans. All right. My wild card teams, I have the Steelers as one. I have the Chargers as two. Now every time I think something about the Chargers, they always let me down. But we'll go with them right now. The Chargers is two, and I'm gonna roll with the Colts. And it's not a lot. I just think the Ravens got some more losses they're gonna have. I think the Broncos have some more losses that they're gonna have. Uh, this might be a homer pick, but I'm rolling with them. So my AFC, no, I'd say it after the NFC. So my NFC picks are I got I got the Eagles coming out of the East still. I got the Eagles coming out of the East. I have I have the Lions coming out of the North. I have the Falcons coming out of the South. Coming out of the West, the West got three teams at 4-4 or 5-4. Uh, I'm going with the Rams to win the NFC West. Yup. After that start, I still think they're going to win it. All right. So what I say? I said I got the Eagles, the Rams, the Lions, and the Falcons. All right. So my wild card teams. I got the Commanders. I got the Niners. Ooh. And I'm gonna go with the Packers right now. And it seems weird because the Cardinals are in first place in their division, but they still have a worse record than the Packers. I think the Packers will figure out enough to win enough games to continue to be in the playoffs. But this is a rough NFC season. So so in conclusion, This will probably be the part that'll be clipped too, but in this week's segment. In conclusion, my AFC playoff picks are the Bills coming out of the East, the Chiefs coming out of the West, the Ravens coming out of the North, and the Texans coming out of the South. The wild card teams are the Chargers, the Steelers, and the Colts. The NFC teams, I got the Eagles coming out of the NFC East. I have the Rams coming out of the NFC West. I have the Lions coming out of the North, and I have the Falcons coming out of the South. And then I have my wild card teams. I have the Niners as a wild card team. I have the Eagles as a wild card team, and then I have the Packers as the other one, and I have the Vikings not making the playoffs. So just for the last time, just so we got it and you heard it here first, all right? The AFC teams, I got the Bills, I got the Chiefs, I got the Ravens, I got the Texans. The wild card teams, I have the Chargers, I have the Steelers, and I have the Colts. The NFC teams, I have the Eagles, I have the Rams, I have the Lions, and I have the Falcons. The wild card teams, I have the Commanders, I have the Niners, and I have the Packers. That's the playoff teams right there. I just said it. There's some surprises in there because the Cardinals, I left them out. The Vikings, I'm leaving them out. I'm not believing in this. I'm being honest with you. I don't believe in this. So they sitting out too. Um this was hard. This was hard. I even left the Broncos out, and that was pretty hard. And even the Bengals, we'll see. But I'm just not believing in what's going on here. That's here nor there. All right. Let's go over to this AFC championship game. Is it a rematch? Is it a rematch? The Chiefs are definitely going to be in the AFC championship game. We can leave that there. If the Ravens and the Bills play each other, who do I have in that matchup? How they're playing? All right. So the AFC championship game, how they're playing right now, I would have to go Chiefs and I would have to go Ravens. This is hard though, because the Bills, man, I really like them. Uh, like I said, I think Josh Allen's still going to be the MVP of the league. But yeah, in the AFC Championship game, I got the Chiefs and I got the Ravens in a repeat matchup. Now in the NFC, I got the Eagles, and it's once again it's hard to say what I mean without just how they are, but like I got the Eagles and I got the Lions in the NFC Championship game. Okay, so the AFC Championship game, I got the rematch with the Ravens and the Chiefs, and in the NFC, I got the Eagles and I have the Lions. Now I'm just hurrying this up to get to the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. I do. I do. Um, and I think they're going to be playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So I think the Super Bowl matchup is going to be Chiefs Eagles again. I think the Eagles got it together. I kind of see continuity with them. I think that bye week really helped them. They must have got some shit off their chest. They must have been cussing at each other. Said, "Listen, I'm tired of this. Let's get it together." So, so that's that. So I got the Eagles and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and I got the Chiefs three-peat. The three-peat's happening, y'all. Okay, the three-peat is happening. Okay, I don't know if they'll go undefeated. The three-peat is happening. This is a better roster than the last two Super Bowls that they won back to back. This is a better receiving core than the two Super Bowls they won back to back. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. I know a lot of people still want to hang on Brady and Belichick, but Patrick Mahomes is better than Tom Brady, and Andy Reid is a better coach than Bill Belichick. And you heard me say both of them, okay? Remember I said that at the end of these careers. Remember I said that. So, yeah. So that's that. That's pretty much everything I got for this week. I listen, you know what I just gave to y'all? I gave y'all the sauce. I gave y'all the sauce for this week, okay? Keep that in mind. So please, guys, check us out so you can hear all of this. Check us out the full episodes on Spotify and YouTube. That's for the full episodes. And then for the reels, check us out on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Our reels are going crazy, and it's exciting to watch. And I want to thank you guys for helping me on this journey because this has been amazing. And unfortunately, guys, it really makes me sad. It really saddens me to have to say it because I love y'all. Because you don't know football. I'm your boy Reek. And like Martin said, I'ma see you when I see you. Peace.